longer than usual. Hello there. I hope that didn't take too long to connect there. Apologies if it did, but we're now live, I'm told, which is great because I have a very special and interesting guest joining me today. Pratim Bhosale is a developer advocate and VP of Growth at Showcase.com, an online community for coders, no less. And Pratim has an impressive developer career which so far has covered roles in robotics, artificial intelligence, community building, and more. And Pratim is here today to talk to us about two very interesting topics, which I get asked about a lot: artificial intelligence and developer relations. We'll be talking about what AI can and can't do, whether we should be worried about it, how to get a job in DevRel, and what type of person is suited to DevRel, and a whole lot more. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. We do these live, so you can ask questions. We're always very happy to hear from you. But first, a warm welcome to you, Pratim. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Leanne. Thank you for such a great introduction. And it's always my pleasure to collaborate with Scrimba. And I was looking forward to this, and I'm excited for this to go ahead and answer whatever questions the audience has today.
Likewise, yeah. As some people in the chat are already saying, let's hear about AI. Woo, yes, Woo. Totally. Let's hear about it. Hello to Pedro. And Tia is super excited about AI. So I think we better start with AI. What is AI?
Well, I think that's a question that a lot of us, the whole of the community has been had for a very long time. Everyone is very intrigued by AI. It's something that for some amount of people, it seems like it's magic. Sometimes you don't know what's happening in the backside and you just think, oh my God, how could a computer do this? So to give you an understanding about AI in terms of how you would explain it to a 5-year-old or anyone who has no idea about AI, it is when you make a computer do the tasks that normally humans would have done, is the whole process is called as artificial intelligence. The part artificial comes in when you ask an artificial machine to think like humans do. And humans have their own set of intelligence, and that's why the whole concept of artificially bringing in the intelligent aspect of humans comes in. And I think that's what AI is, basically making machines do the tasks that humans have been doing for a long time and making machines think like humans. That is what AI can be said, like in a short terms.
Very interesting. So that brings me to my next question, which is, what can AI currently do? As a few examples.
That's a good. I think that's something all of us have been. We are basically living around AI with us, right from the food delivery apps that we're using currently. They use AI extensively. How do we understand which roads have less traffic for the delivery person to go and traverse that road and deliver food? Google Maps uses a lot of AI. Basically, everything wherever. We are trying to reduce human effort and make life easier. That every aspect AI is being used. Some examples, as I said, Uber uses AI to a very greater extent currently in their whole cab service department. Then robotics heavily uses AI currently, and I think while the robotics section has come so far ahead that we are currently trying to imitate human emotions, which is something that's very tricky for AI to do, but we are slightly there where we are still trying to get in and make sure that we can imitate those things that human emotions can do. That's, I think, one of the most latest examples of AI. And another thing that AI is doing very, very cool, and which is literally everywhere. I worked with a company named Dasha that was also into AI, where AI is currently just handling companies themselves. AI is I won't say replacing, but AI is helping human forces, task forces to do their work better and quicker. Today, if you're short on people to handle your front end or front office or front desk of your company, you can bring in an AI service. You can bring in a conversational AI service and make sure that it's easier for you to handle your customers. So AI basically answers most of the questions that normally someone else would have had to answer. I think this is just some examples of what AI is capable of doing. But yeah, there are extremely n number of examples one can give in terms of artificial intelligence.
Wow, certainly sounds interesting. One thing that really, I don't know, caught my interest was what you said about human emotions. Initially, I thought you said it can't recognize or use human emotions, but it sounds like it can do something like that. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, in terms of basically where I think AI is still lacking, this is completely my perspective, and I'm still learning AI. My knowledge about AI is very little compared to the researchers and the experts that we have in AI. But according to how much I've read, common sense, the what basically differentiates AI and humans even now is having the whole aspect of gut feeling, having a gut feeling. Then common sense, those areas is where it's so basically with AI. What happens is we feed in a lot of data, we feed in a lot of questions, we feed in a lot of answers, and after some point, the machine, the computer has the algorithm has so many answers that the computer can predict what would be the next answer to a similar kind of a situation, right? But with emotions, as humans, we are so tricky that at points our emotions could be completely erratic. Like for even a happy moment, we start crying sometimes. Well, that could be fed as an example at one point, but we are completely erratic people, you can say, and you cannot basically define our emotions. That's where I think there is a lot of things for AI to learn and catch up. And in the end, that's why a lot of people have asked me like this question, that do you think AI will replace humans, or AI will replace? I think AI will never be able to replace that, because that's not how it it was designed, or that's not something which would that's not possible, to be honest, because the we are in the end the most intelligent people, I feel, and we are the ones who can bring out the best into an AI. But I don't think AI will ever replace us. So I feel currently emotions is one aspect where AI has a lot to catch up on. And that's something interesting and exciting. I'm looking forward to see with the space.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
That it's interesting that it seems that it can kind of deal with human emotions to a point, but as you
Yes.
say, we're so unpredictable, and I guess also different as well, that it can't
Yes.
fully interact in the same way that we can.
Absolutely.
I mean, even humans struggle with other humans' emotions, so yeah, no chance that AI will just yet. I want to pause for a moment to welcome everybody in the chat who has dropped a hello. Brilliant that you're all here. Some people I have seen before, other people I have not. We have a tradition here in the Scrimba
Okay.
live streams, which is, if you're new here, please put a bunny rabbit into the chat. If you've been before, hit me with the tiger or any other animal you like. Yes, you're not restricted. We don't use this information, it's just for fun. But thank you for coming along. Tony's wondering, is it cool to ask related questions in the chat? It absolutely is, Tony. We do these live so that you can ask questions. So yes, please do. Tia is wondering, how do the apps, like you mentioned earlier, Pratim, like the food delivery apps and Google Maps, etc., learn our patterns so well? Yeah. Does it use keywords or patterns or other complex programming input like that? Intriguing.
Absolutely, Tia. I think you've got it right. It does use keywords, patterns, and complex programming inputs is something that happens on the back end, but it is not something. So basically, even in AI, there are models that have to be you basically train a model, and after some point, there is good amount of training data set which the AI model can pick up. So initially, yes, there is a lot of data that is fed into the model, and those can consist of keywords. For example, keywords make more sense. To give you an example, if it's conversational AI, where you have an AI assistant like Alexa, Siri. So when the Alexas and Siris were trained, they were given millions of keywords to be trained. That is what their data set was, and after that, it started making permutations and combinations out of the keywords that they already have. So you just give it a starting point that this is the data set that you need to answer any question that a person can come up with. That's how it will start making combinations out of the keywords available, and that's how it starts slowly learning. And there is a feedback process that is also available. That's if there is something that is new that has not been asked before, it learns from it. It will remember that aspect that okay, this is something that I do not know. Like a lot of times, if you talk to Siri and you ask questions, if you ask something that Siri has never been trained to answer, it will say sorry, I did not catch that. But I think that is only once, twice that it will happen. But when in future Siri finds an answer to a similar kind of question, the third time if you ask a similar kind of question, it will have an answer for it. So basically learning from whatever is being fed to the algorithm, or it basically learns on itself. That's why we call it the intelligence part, because it learns like how we learn from experiences. That's the most interesting and intriguing part about this. I hope I've been able to answer your question here.
Yeah, definitely. So something like YouTube recommendations then, is that another example?
Yes, absolutely. Netflix is the best example, and the one option that currently we have on Netflix that says surprise me. Do you really think Netflix surprises you? No, Netflix won't surprise you. What Netflix does is it sees the kind of movies you've gone through, the kind of movies, all the kind of movies that you've watched. It creates a complete data set out of it, and then it basically randomizes and decides, okay, this we can hit this kind of a movie and check if this is something that person likes. And then with the amount of time that you're actually spending on the movie, like if you actually go through the whole movie, it would be a green tick for Netflix that okay, this suggestion that I gave currently to Pratim was something Pratim liked, so this will go into their back channel saying okay, now I need to source similar kind of suggestions. So everything that you do on a platform that uses AI is being fed to the model, and everything is being currently basically all your moves are being watched to help you better. This is how I would like to put it.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about this, because it is nice to have recommendations of things which are similar to the stuff that you already like. But then how do you ever find new things? You know, it sometimes feels like you're just rewatching the same thing over and over. And I do worry if we're boxing ourselves in a little bit and not exposing ourselves to the wider world. Is there a way around that with AI where it can kind of balance the two things?
Well, this is not just happening with movies. Let me give an example of Twitter. Okay, on Twitter, also the people that we follow, the Twitter algorithm will make sure that we see similar kind of content on our feed, right? So what you're saying is absolutely right. In the end, we completely miss out on the things that is different from us. But all AI algorithms which are being used currently to monetize, or which are being used to have customer attention, are they all of them have the same goal, is to have customer attention to maximum level. Like if you're going on there are YouTube suggestions or anything. What is their end goal? Their end goal is to make sure that you go and watch that video, you spend time on their platform. So all of basically they are made in a way so that we see something which we are already accustomed to, and we are not in the phase of experimenting. I think I don't actually have an answer about how we would break out of it, but if you being completely aware of this fact is also, I think, the first step toward this. And if you really want to go out, is I think you can just log off of your account and then scroll. I think then there will be no recommendations given to you, and it will be a clean slate. But yeah. As long as you are under your own recommendations, you will be shown what the algorithm wants you to see according to what you've seen in the past.
It's interesting because I do experience that issue a lot. But then occasionally you'll watch a completely random video about, I don't know, what's the name of that fish I saw in the river recently? And then you'll end up with endless fish video recommendations for months afterwards. And you think, yes, I've watched only one, and now you're showing me all of this. So it's got a way to go, but interesting to hear your perspective on it. Thank you for that. And another interesting question here from Nalini. What are the skills required to kickstart with AI for the beginner?
That's a great question, Nalini. And I think For anyone to get started, I will tell you the complete basic skills or the starter steps for anyone to get started with AI has to be, I feel, this is personally what I feel, is to be good with maths. I think mathematics is something that is on the that stands really in not just AI but even with machine learning and AI. Having a good catch on mathematics and numbers is really helpful for AI. And then if you're just getting started and understanding the basis, you could pick up any good course from for AI. I think MIT has a lot of great courses on AI which are free online learning. There are a lot of MOOC courses currently available for AI. You can pick up any one of them and then start doing small assignments. That's, I think, that's the best way to get started with AI. And in terms of skills required, I think there isn't any skill set you will already require to have to start with AI. AI is just any other subject, computer science subject that you want to learn. You will just have to give good amount of time. And one thing about AI, I feel, is you need to be a person who loves to research, because this field is a very, very strong and very deep rooted field. There is a lot for you to learn, and it's not something you can easily catch and like come up with outputs. People have been putting in their years and years of effort, and only then it has given them good results. So you need to have patience, I think, in terms of skills, good mathematics, patience, and the basically wanting to learn more and more. That's what I can say.
Beautiful. Yes, I'm sure there are lots of people watching who have just those skills, which is great. Going back to my informal survey earlier, we have many bunny rabbits in the chat. Ooh, what's that? Oh, it's a cat. That's good. And many tigers, which means we are welcoming people back. And we're welcoming people for the first time, which is exciting. If you're not familiar with us, I'm Leanne from Scrimba, and this is Pratim, who's joined me to talk about AI and DevRel. Yes, and if you don't know what Scrimba is, now's the time to find out. Here it is, and here we are. If I press this, we'd end up in an infinite loop of watching ourselves, so I won't. But you can watch us live on Scrimba. And we have courses about learning how to code. Plenty of amazing courses, JS, CSS, HTML, React, and so on. So go and check it out. Yes, speaking of JS, Namani is asking, I know Python is a good language for AI, but how about JS?
Personally, I haven't had a chance to explore artificial intelligence using JS, but I think we are at a point where every language has support for AI. There will be libraries that will be supporting there will be JavaScript libraries that will be supporting functionalities for artificial intelligence. I think you are just one Google search away to know if JS is a good way to start with AI. I think.
Great, good to know. I think also if you know one, it's a lot easier to pick up the other one. So
absolutely. Yeah.
I hope that has helped. Yes, Mr. Mysteriously named viewer, Mr. says, does machine learning need a lot of math? Now, you mentioned earlier that math is an important skill for AI, but this has got me thinking, machine learning and AI, are they the same?
Well, they are. It's a subset basically. Machine learning and AI are connected, very very closely connected. But artificial intelligence is something that has other domains like deep learning. There is conversational AI part of it, whereas in machine learning is more closely related to, as I was saying, mathematics, and it is more related to different algorithms. And starting with training the data sets, that's where machine learning is. Artificial intelligence is, I think, to a bigger extent where we can explore other concepts of, you can connect it easily with robotics and basically understand, explore other things which machine learning hasn't been able to explore. That's where artificial intelligence has been helping. And to answer the question about does machine learning need a lot of math, I would say the basics, if you're starting with machine learning, I don't think that would require a lot of math. We have good amount of educational content around mathematics, around machine learning, which has made it easy. to get started with machine learning. But if you are someone who wants to dig deeper into machine learning, build your own algorithms at some point, then I think you will need to have a strong hold of mathematics to make sure you are at a point where you can come up with your own algorithms.
Good to know. On this, so we've covered machine learning versus AI. Anna Codes is asking, how is data science related to AI? And is data science considered, are data scientists considered to be some kind of AI expert?
That's a really tricky question, and I think data science itself is a very large field. To be honest, there is a lot of things that you can explore in data science, and in terms of how data science is related to AI, I guess with a lot currently everything we know that data is oil right now. Data is the actual source of that is the real gold in today's tech world, where everything you can literally derive anything out of data. So data science is the field which will help you understand how you can play with data, how you can make sure that you convert data into information and knowledge. And when you have the knowledge, that's when AI can come into picture, and that's the knowledge that AI you feed it to your AI model. You feed knowledge, you feed so there's this complete model with data. I think if you a lot of folks who have done their computer science engineering must be knowing the difference between pure data, then wisdom, knowledge, and these different concepts. So it's basically when you are working on different raw data. If you're working on raw data, you're converting it into knowledge, and then that's what's passed on to your AI models to make sure that your AI learns through it. You pass on the end result to an AI, and data science comes into picture where you basically play around with data and experiment with the data that has already been given to you. And I think I'm not sure if it's a very vague question actually. If data scientists are considered as AI experts, there can be some data scientists who will be AI experts, but there could be some data scientists who would just like to who are just okay with being purely into data science and working around data itself and not going into the intelligence part of it. So it's totally up to someone who wants to go ahead with AI. But yeah, having good knowledge of data science really helps you to pick up artificial intelligence quickly.
Perfect. Tia says, on your earlier point, so the amount of time we spend watching, reading, sharing, etc., or the types of content online that we save, click, is all fed into AI algorithms. This is absolutely fascinating. Thank you, Pratim. Yeah, so is that the case then? Basically, anything we're consuming online is doing exactly that, being fed into AI.
Yes, it is that case. There is this one saying in the whole industry that we are currently in that if some service is free to you, basically you are the product.
Mm.
Right.
So what does that? Yeah.
So that seep in. What it means is if some service is not if someone is not charging you for their services, that means that they are using you in ways not obviously not in any illegal way or something, but you are helping them make their algorithms better day by day and understanding our behavioral patterns every single day. So I think that's the way how we are helping them understand what we like better so that they can reach a bigger audience. Like to give you an example, on Twitter, if you start, if someone you follow likes a particular tweet, that tweet is shown to you also, because the Twitter algorithm thinks that, okay, if you follow this person, you like that person's content, or you like that person's tweet, and if that person likes someone else's tweet, it basically means that you also have a chance of liking that person's tweet, and then you could go ahead and follow. So it's literally exactly as you've put in, that everything that we are doing on the internet is somehow fed to AI algorithms. And that's where the whole aspect, this is just something interesting that I feel, that's where the whole aspect of Web3 is coming into picture, where we're making sure that what we are doing is completely left to us and not fed as data points to to a complete algorithm who's using it to not their benefit. I wouldn't say to their benefit, but making sure that our information or our actions are in our control and not someone else's control.
That's interesting, because my next question was going to be, is there anything we can do to basically stop our interactions being fed into the algorithm? You're mentioning Web3. Would you like to tell us a bit about that?
Um, First, to answer your first question, actually, I don't think we should be the right approach to it to would be to stop it. In the end, AI is being used to help us to make our lives easier. If tomorrow, if we decide to stop it, I don't think our Uber would come on time if the Uber person does not find our the route to our house easily. And if tomorrow we don't know the estimate time, the time that is required. Okay, okay, this is an example. My Siri just woke up, and my Siri just caught me the saying the words that the estimate time required for me to reach. That's like a living example.
Beautiful.
It is literally taking in everything that I'm currently saying. Unless I stop it, it will. There's one funny fact that I something that was recently going on. This is there was a lot of controversy going around that do conversational AI or these assistants actually listen to everything that we say, or are they completely on switch mode and only when we ask them to wake up do they wake up, or are they 24/7 listening to our phrases and whatever we are speaking? This is something that even I'm intrigued about, and I still haven't found an answer to it. But it's interesting to go into these subjects and understand like how do assistants work the times when we don't actually need them. What are they doing? What are they completely in what hibernate mode, or they are active? What it is, that's something really interesting. Coming back to your question, how should we make sure that all information about us is not being shared and is not being used? I think just being aware of the fact that you're on the internet, and internet is a place which is heavily basically supported by AI, should help us to just know what information you want to put out there and what information you want to feed to the algorithm. Like it's basically going to monitor what are your likes. It's basically going to monitor everything. So if you are someone who does not want to be given suggestions, as Leanne was saying, that if you want to see some movies that are out of your regular suggestions, then I think you will have to take an active effort to make sure that you're putting going into the incognito tab, or making sure that you're cleaning out your cache, making sure that there are no bookmarks and all of that. But I think as long as it's not hurting us, as long as it's not putting you in some addictive loop, AI is here to help us. It is here to make our lives easier. So it's something that we should all benefit from, I feel.
That is a very interesting take, because I think the kind of most common feeling at the moment is that all these algorithms are something a bit sinister. But as you're saying, it can also be very helpful. So that's a nice, refreshing take. Yes. Deepak Kumar is thinking of switching to IT from a mechanical background. Should he start from web development or AI? Ooh, do you have an opinion on this?
Oh, I do. So Deepak, I would like to answer this question in a way. If you've never learned to swim, would you just jump into a 16 feet swimming pool? You wouldn't, right? At least I'm hoping you wouldn't. The first thing you would do, or you would learn, is to just go inside the pool in a 3 feet pool and try to pedal your legs. Like I remember that is how I was taught to swim. You just catch hold of the bar that is in the swimming pool and you start pedaling your legs. That's the first thing. So even if you're trying to switch to tech, that's really great, and kudos to you. Everyone should be along with tech currently, but I think you should start small. You should understand the basics of computer science. You should do small projects. You should pick up one programming language that you think you would be comfortable with. Python is a great way to go ahead. JavaScript is amazing. If you're able to catch up with JavaScript, then I think it's easier for you to go in all areas. But I would suggest you start small. You start understanding the concepts. You read a little bit about algorithms. You read a little bit about data structures, and then slowly, AI is something that's you should be catching up later once you have a good hold on at least one programming language you feel comfortable with, and then you can go ahead. But yeah, till then, it's always great to read, research, and see what the market trends are. Learn, read about case studies, go through some tutorials, but make sure that your basics are strong. Else, in future, it would be an issue for you.
Beautiful. Thank you for that answer there. Digital Danger Zero is asking, what is the hello world of AI development? Now, for those of you who don't know, hello world is typically the first line of code you would use or you would write when you learn a new language, basically.
Yes.
Is there an answer to that?
Yes, absolutely. There's an answer to that, and I think the answer to this will differ from uh, completely individual to individual. But for me, the hello world of AI was actually to understand the history of AI and how AI came into picture. What has been done till now? Like when did we discover AI? Understanding case studies where currently, literally understanding where AI is being used currently will help you understand what AI is. If you just pick up one research book, or if you just pick up a tutorial that talks about, that gives you a definition about AI, that AI is basically understanding, AI is basically training machines and making sure that they are doing X, Y, Z tasks. I think it will be very theoretical for you, but if you take a route where you understand the current applications of artificial intelligence and see where artificial intelligence is being used, you will be easily able to relate to what AI is trying to do. And then I think you'll have a clear picture of what artificial intelligence is. And then it would be easier for you to break down it and start your learning journey, I feel.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Devjit says, I hate maths, so I think I can only be good with web development. Now, you did mention maths is useful for AI earlier.
Yes.
But is that the case that if you're not so strong in the maths department or you just don't like it, AI probably isn't for you?
No, AI is for everyone. Absolutely, AI is a field I feel everyone should, at some point in their life, just understand or know how it works. What are the basic things you should know? What are the algorithms? What are the basic data models? All of that involved, because then you are not someone who is a part of the whole gang which thinks AI is magic, but you will actually think of it as something that is purely a work of programming. It's work of computers. But I think even if you hate math, it's fine. If you know the basics of math, it would help you with AI. But you can always still go ahead and give it a try. But there are a lot of concepts in deep learning. Deep learning is another field that is closely related to AI and ML. These fields, there is natural language processing. All of them do require a good understanding of math, then derivatives, and basically the deeper maths. So if you are someone who's planning to go deep into artificial intelligence, machine learning, then I feel you would require maths. But if you're just someone who wants to understand the concepts, I think there is no one stopping you then.
Good to know, yes. Nalini is wondering how the machines handle and store such huge amounts of data. So presumably if Netflix is recording everything about what everyone likes, that is a massive amount of data. So that's an interesting question from Nalini here.
Yes. So Nalini, what happens is obviously there are servers, there are data rooms where huge amount of data is being collected. But in terms of handling, so a good word for handling is how do they process these data sets? What happens with these data sets? So when these models are being trained, when machine learning models are being trained, it requires good amount of processing power. That's why if you see any AI expert or if you see supercomputers, why are supercomputers even till date so costly? Because they have very strong processing power. That kind of processing cannot be done by a simple laptop that you and me have, but these require laptops which are really, really strong and have very strong processing powers. So that's how they handle data sets, by having good GPUs. To give you an example for that, even if you're playing some really high intensive game on your laptop, you will require a gaming card, which is not something that a normal laptop comes in. So basically, processors which are strong enough to process huge amount of data and data sets and train your models. That's how they basically handle it. And because not every computer can do it. Now we currently have a lot of services which take this aspect and they completely turn it into a SaaS product. Like you can use their services, you can use TensorFlow. That's what TensorFlow does, right? You can use TensorFlow and do a lot of processing with the data available. You can train your models. So that's everything can be done kindly. You don't really need to have one of those strong GPUs, I think, and CPUs. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for the insightful question, Nalini. Yeah. Namamani is saying, I think there are not many secrets on the internet. Absolutely. I always say, if you wouldn't want your mother to hear you say it, don't say it online. Yes. And Deepak Kumar is saying, thank you for your words earlier, answering his question. Brilliant. We did promise you that we would talk about 2 topics today, AI and DevRel. And I think we should move on to the DevRel section of things. DevRel, aka developer relations, is a very hot topic at the moment. People are talking about it on Twitter and everywhere. Let's begin with what is developer relations. And if you're here to learn about developer relations, don't hesitate to leave a question in the chat. We love answering your questions. So yes, Pratim, what is developer relations?
I think by this moment, I must have answered the questions at least a million times. I wish for every time I answer this question, I could have got $1. I would be a millionaire by now. But I'm glad that more people want to understand this field. I am personally very passionate about developer relations, and I feel I'm very lucky that I'm working in a field which I truly love and am passionate about. To give you a one-line answer, I would love to dig deep into this, but to give you a one-line answer about what developer relations is, I feel it's a peculiar role that sits between product engineering and marketing of any company. So you basically are a bridge which handles three different sections of a company or any product, and make sure that there is basically whatever the company or the product is trying to reach out to with the community, that is being answered. All the questions, all the issues that the community is facing is something DevRel also closely looks up to. But yeah, a one-line answer is it's a peculiar role which sits between product engineering and marketing.
Lovely. Yeah.
Yes.
So what type of person is well suited to this role then?
Well, to be honest, everyone can be a part of developer relations, and that's like a futuristic dream condition that every company or every product-based company wants to have, where every team member is a DevRel person, which means that you whatever you are developing in the company, whatever you are contributing to the product, you are also an advocate for it. You are also at a position where you can explain that piece of contribution that you've done to the product to the people who are out of the organization or who are understanding a product. So I feel anyone could suit for a DevRel role, but there are some skill sets that would help you being better at this role. This is how I would like to answer this question actually. And I think first one of them, the most important skill set which is required to be a part of developer relations, is to have patience and to have empathy towards people, and to be at a position where you want to make sure that if someone is facing an issue with anything that you are at a position where you can help them and wait till they actually find an answer to it. That's a very important skill set required in developer relations. Other things is to be at a position where you are comfortable in explaining things. You need to be a good teacher. You need to be a good explainer. You need to be at a point where you can break down concepts as easy and as for anyone to understand, be it a junior developer or be it a senior developer. You need to be able to scale it down or scale it up according to that person's understanding. That's a great skill set to have. And then other things is to be good at writing, being good at blogging. Basically, blogging is one aspect. Making videos, everything, and that's just an add-on that could be a part of the DevRel, I feel.
Beautiful. Yes. As Digital Data says, wow, that sounds like the perfect role. I'm glad you like the sound of it. Yes, if you like the sound of DevRel, drop a smiley face in the chat. Let's go with that. Yeah, does sound very interesting. So it interests me a lot that you mentioned patience as one of the most important skills, because I was expecting something on the more technical side. What is it about DevRel that requires more patience than perhaps a traditional developer role?
That's a great question, Lian. Actually, a traditional developer or any developer, their day would look like just contributing to the task that they have in front of them. And once you're done with the task, you just shut down your laptop and you're done for the day. Or you can get started tomorrow and work on another new feature that has come up. But in DevRel, you always have to be available. I always is not actually the right word. I don't think always have to. You can obviously take your breaks, but in the end, you have to be available for the people, for the developers who trust in your product, who trust in your product and are building with your product. Because if they are facing an issue with your product and if you are not there to help them, their complete project could stop because of a simple issue. And that could be really, really bad for not just your product but everyone in the community, because then you would never know to what extent can your product reach. And that's what I think, that's being available, being at a point where you can answer questions, you can answer different kinds and permutations and combinations of questions that come across your product, is something that requires good amount of patience. And there are a lot of events that come under developer relations. You have to help the community, you have to be with them, you have to, if there is a hackathon, there is a lot of support that is required, and that's what takes a lot of patience to just, because you can be asked the same questions 10 times, that could irk you a little bit, but in the end, the questions that are coming up are from 10 different developers and not a single developers. So you need to have that mindset and the patience to understand and be happily, have a smile on your face and happily accept everyone's questions and answer them. I feel that's really important.
Brilliant. Yes. Hey Debs says S3R4303 from Germany. Nice to see a full female team today. Woo! Applause for that. Yes, lovely indeed. Yeah. So going back to the DevRel side of things, don't forget to leave your questions in the chat if you have any, by the way. I would like to know how people can go about finding their first DevRel role.
Oh, that's about their. I think I have written a blog. You can find it on my. It's on my polywork actually. I have written a blog. It's on Hashnode also. This is you can find your. There are a lot of ways to find your first DevRel role, but something that I suggest everyone is, if you are not really active on social media, or if you don't have an audience to reach out to for a DevRel role, one thing you can always do is reach out in your own company and see if this is something, a similar kind of role is available in your company. You can always reach out to them and ask them that, hey, I am a developer, or I am someone who's interested in being a part of the developer relations team. Would you like to interview me, or would you like to see what I have done? And the second part to this is, how would you land your first DevRel role, is something I'd like to answer. I think once you are at a point where you know this is DevRel is a field that intrigues you and interests you, you can start creating a lot of helpful tutorials or articles or anything around any tech part that you're passionate about and you want to advocate for. You want to be a part of the developer relations team. For example, if you are someone who's really interested in Kubernetes, if you're someone who's really interested in Vercel, Netlify, or any of these techs, any of these dev tools currently available, you can start learning about them. You can start creating projects using these dev tools, and that's how you can create ample amount of what you can say data set or ample amount of material which will be shown as proof of work. And you can obviously reach out to the particular companies and say, listen, this is the kind of material that I've already written. This is how I would advocate for the company. This is how I would be suitable for this role. And I don't think any company would not want you then if you're already put in the effort, even without being asked for it. I hope that's answered the question, Leanne.
Beautifully, yes. That is a very nice point, because we often say at Scrimba that one of the best things you can do to help your developer career, or really any tech career, is starting some kind of content creation. So maybe a blog or a YouTube channel or whatever medium it is you prefer. And the reason we say that is similar to what you explained, Pratim, because you've then got a
Yes.
body of work that you can show people. And if it's a DevRel role that you're interested in, I suppose that's even more relevant in a way, because it's doing exactly the type of thing you would be doing in the DevRel role. So if you're wondering about starting a blog or coding YouTube channel, this is your sign. Give it a go. But I do think some people worry that maybe they don't know enough to get started with blogging or making videos. And they think you need to be some kind of expert before you start doing that. What's your take on that, Pratim?
I still don't know a lot. I still think I'm someone who is always learning. I think everyone, even Elon Musk, must be thinking that he doesn't know enough even today. Jack Dorsey must be thinking the same, that he doesn't know. I don't really think we will ever be at a point where we know enough to start something. It's just a leap of faith that you start and you put yourself out there. You make yourself accountable. Just start writing about anything you feel. Basically, I think in your initial days when you're starting out with blogging or any kind of content creation to support your learnings, treat it as a notepad and not as proof of work. Treat it as something that is a way to just put your thoughts and your learnings on board. That way you will not judge yourself and you won't think about what people will judge you for. But someday you have to start, and slowly you. Another thing that would really help is taking feedback from experts. If you know someone from your connection who is into developer relations or any field that you want to write a blog about, you can always write a blog and ask them to proofread it, ask them their opinion, and that's how you will understand more and more about the quality of work that you're putting in and how you can do better. But if you just keep thinking and waiting about the point and moment when you will know everything, I think then you will never start.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you don't need to know everything to write a blog or start a blog. You just need to know one thing, and maybe not even that completely. So yeah, you could even write a blog about something you're wondering about. Yeah.
You just need to start building yourself in public.
Yeah, you do. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
Here we have a comment which sums it up beautifully. I think the best thing to learn is, or the best way to learn, I guess, is to get your hands dirty. Absolutely. We always say at Scrimba that you really start learning code when you start writing it yourself. This is a nice little plug. It wasn't planned. But all of our courses are fully interactive, and we've recently introduced solo projects, which does exactly that. A bit of a tangent, but do go and check it out. I'm sure you will all love it. And Debjit says here, we are our worst critics. Even the world does not treat us that bad. Yes, Debjit, you are absolutely right there. No one's as hard on you as you are on yourself. Yes.
Absolutely.
Lovely. Interesting point here as well. For the future, learn how to use Google correctly for your needs. That saves so much time. Yes. On this, I actually had a live stream about how to Google once, believe it or not. It was really interesting. I will find it for you now. Because many people think Googling is just, working things into Google and away you go. But there's more to it than that.
Yes, there is.
Here's the link. One moment, bear with me. Remember, live stream, Google. There is so much more to it. And there are so many tricks and tips which can basically make life a lot easier. I will find that link off camera and then drop it shortly into the chat. But in the meantime, can you tell us how much coding is involved in DevRel?
Uh, it's very subjective. It depends from the team. It depends with the company. It depends with the product that you're working with. For some, if your dev tool product does not require you to code, if it's not something that is, if the product is completely built to a point where coding is not required, you just have to create tutorials. If it's a plug and play dev tool and it just requires integrations, then the only coding that would be required is you to understand how to integrate your product with other available dev tools or the complete ecosystem that you're trying to build. So, and but if on the other hand, if your product is a library, if your product is a backend, something that you need to integrate to complete letalities, then that would require a lot of coding for you. So it purely depends upon the product that you're working for, but it's a good thing if you know and if you're comfortable with a one programming language, and if you're actually working in the similar kind of product. That's so basically, if to give you an example, if you're comfortable with Flutter and if you end up being in the developer relations team, if you end up handling the developer relations for a company whose product is completely built using Flutter, I think that would be the best way. That would make your life very easy. So it's always good to be strong at one programming language, I feel, and that would make your journey very smooth and would make you accessible to all sorts of roles in DevRel, not just the ones which do not require coding, but also the ones which require heavy coding.
So would you recommend having a developer job, or at least a job that involves a lot of coding, before moving into DevRel, or not necessarily? It's just best to know a bit of code.
So personally for me, I am a kind of a person who can, while I'm learning, I can focus only on one thing in my learning phase. So that's why I was a full-time developer, full stack developer for almost 2 years. That's when I shifted. After that, I shifted into the developer relations. So that helped me, having deep knowledge into the architecture, having understanding of programming languages and computer science helped me pick up DevRel very quickly. But if there is someone who is good at multitasking and has the knack for understanding products, has the knack for understanding community, and wants to start with the DevRel, I think if they can accommodate learning development at the same time, understanding the relations part together. Why not? I think they can still get started with it. But for me, having a development background worked and helped me.
Brilliant. Yes. On to our topic we were talking about earlier, which was Googling. Here is me talking to Mike from HTML All the Things. Yes, we talked about how to Google, and he shared with me tons of amazing tips. So if you would like to check those out, head over there. And I think we might have some, yes, we do, look at that, timestamps. So you can find easily how to Google. Yes. Tia loves the idea of a DevRel position. I'm learning new coding skills and hope to work as a liaison between the devs and executive management. Wow, to push for money, top equipment, continued remote work, etc. Beautiful. Yes, that is wonderful to hear. I am so excited about all this amazing information you have given us in the last 50 odd minutes. Pratim, is there anything you would like to tell us to close off to do with AI and or DevRel?
In terms of AI, I would actually tell you one thing, that AI isn't something that you need to be scared of. I hear a lot of people that say, should we be scared of AI? Is it something that will replace us? That's something that a lot of folks from the industry are worried about in terms of automation or any tasks. I think nothing can ever replace skill-based work. So make sure you're in a field where skill is required and it is not something that can easily be automated. Make sure you learn the skill sets that are irreplaceable, that require uh, deep knowledge and learning. Put yourself there. That's when you'll be completely safe in whatever you're doing. This is again my thought about it. And in terms of DevRel, I am always open to answering any questions about DevRel. I think this is a field which will keep growing more and more with a lot of SaaS companies coming in, a lot of tech products coming into picture. DevRel is definitely a place where we need more people, because only then will dev tools, dev products be accessible to everyone. So yeah, it's a great field to jump in, but make sure you jump in for the right reasons and you know the pros as well as the cons. I feel there is an idea that DevRel, a lot of people think there aren't any cons to this field, but you personally wouldn't be, after some point you would think that this field is not right for you. So make sure you do your due diligence and really get into a field only when you want to. But yeah, again, as I said, don't be scared. Just take a leap of faith and start working on yourself.
Brilliant. Yes. And don't forget to go and give Pratim a bit of a follow on Twitter. I have dropped the link into the chat, and it's next to Pratim's name just there. Yes. So I think that's answered the question from Rebecca here. How is the job market for DevRel? Is there much demand / opportunity? It sounds like there is. Is that right?
Any role, any job, if any skill-based job or anything has demand, as long as it's quality work that is being provided. So that's what my answer would be. Everyone is looking for skilled DevRels. Everyone is looking for people who can help spread their product into the community and make their onboarding process easier. So the market for DevRel is really good currently, but make sure you actually understand the concepts around DevRel, and only then you get into it. This is something I tell about any job. Just do not get into the bandwagon because everyone else is doing that. Else, after some point, things like imposter syndrome kick in, things like you start doubting yourself. So make sure you do your due diligence. But yeah, there is a market for everything in tech currently. Tech is the most hot pot currently available. So make sure you're doing the due diligence. That's all I can say. And yeah, you're good to go, I feel. Don't worry about the job market. Just worry about what you will put out. That's all you should be concerned about.
Brilliant. And just to finish off, Tia says, I'm learning both front-end and back-end. Is that recommended? I'm not sure if Tia means with a view to going into AI or generally, but in either case, what's your take on that, Pratim?
Tia, it depends upon if you can grasp both the things at the same time. If you're learning via tutorials, if you're learning project based, then I think it makes sense that if you're learning small projects, which also gives you some idea about the front end and also back end, that would be amazing to start and kick off with projects. But I would still suggest you take a 60-40 or 80-20 approach, where you're putting 80% of your effort in learning one aspect, and then 20% for some time, and then you completely revolve it and you put 80 on the other side and 20 on the other side. I think best way for you to go ahead would be to start with front end, make great interesting web pages, and then once you feel you're comfortable with front end and you can spring up good web pages, then you can go to backend, because both of them are very, very vast and you can never be done with it, both of them.
Brilliant. Yes. Oh, Jay Tompkins has dropped in with his wand-waving bear. Hello, Jay. Nice to see you here. I have a question to the audience now. Yes, usually the questions go to the guests, but this one is to the audience. That is, who would you like to see on this live stream next? Yes, let me know in the comments. And if you're watching this when it's no longer live, you can still let me know in the comments. I will see it. So yes, I would be intrigued to hear who you would like to see me chatting to next. But actually, the next person you will see me chatting to is none other than Michael. Yes, this is Michael. This is me. Yep. We will be coding a joke generator this Friday. I did think it was going to involve an API, but all of the APIs with jokes I found had very unsuitable jokes, which I definitely would not use in a work environment. So I guess we'll just have to do it vanilla JS, or we'll see. Yes. But anyway, that's what we're doing on Friday. And I have another exciting announcement. At Scrimba, we have something called Challenge Weeks. Yes. They are 5 days of JavaScript challenges. These were the last ones. Valentine's themed. They all have a theme. I haven't announced the next theme yet, But here's a clue. Yes, so the Valentine's one had a heart emoji, and the next one has an earth emoji. So maybe you can guess what it is, maybe not. But in any case, it's dropping in the next couple of weeks. And if you head over to this page here and hit the button here, which says get started or enroll, you will get it directly to your inbox. So yes, I hope you do that. So, Pratim, an hour has passed already, full of amazing information, and I feel much better about AI now and less worried about it, so that's good. And big thank you from the audience here. Thanks a lot for your information. Stay healthy and on the right side. Yes, words to live by. Well, thanks again, Pratim, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Leanne. It was a pleasure.
It was brilliant.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yes,
Bye.
bye-bye.